Hello, hello, and welcome to the Jackson Harris Show. Today I'm here with Dr. Young, book writer of Deep in the Woods. Now, Mr. Young, would you tell me all about this book?
Thank you, Jackson. And first of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I'm really honored, and I'm so impressed that a high school student who's only 16 already has his own podcast. You are way, way ahead of me when I was in high school, and I'm really impressed by your technical prowess. And I'm honored that you want to talk with me about my new novel, Deep in the Forest, which people can purchase via Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Speedy Hen, and other online websites. Basically, this is a really fun novel that takes place in the present day rural American South in a small town, and the protagonist of the story is Elton Peabody. And Elton Peabody is a 35-year-old high school history teacher. And one Friday evening, he drives home from work, and it's after dark, and he notices that his dog and the other dogs in the neighborhood are just barking wildly. And he goes out in his backyard to see what all the commotion's about. And he notices there's a strange glowing white light deep in the forest behind his backyard, way back in the woods. And so he takes his flashlight and he goes exploring in those woods to find out what is that bright white light glowing deep in the forest. And he's just mesmerized by it. And as he gets closer and closer, he realizes that he doesn't hear any of the normal sounds of the forest anymore. There are no crickets, there are no birds, no owls hooting, and the light is getting ever brighter, and it's drawing him to it. And he starts to hear this hum, this ever louder humming noise. And then when he gets to a clearing in the forest, the white light is so bright, it is all encompassing. And the humming sound is just as if it's jet engines. It's so loud. But yet he's compelled to go into the clearing to see what this is. And when he goes in the clearing, he is just completely overtaken by light and sound. And it's the most terrifying experience of his life. So terrifying that he passes out. But when he awakes, he's unharmed, the light and sound are gone, and his younger brother, who is the local sheriff, and some other deputies and local townspeople, they have come into the clearing because they were investigating reports of UFOs, of bright lights in the county. And so you'll come to him, and Elton is badly shaken, but they take him back to the sheriff's department where they interview him. And for the rest of the novel, what I've described is just chapter one. For the rest of the novel, for the vast majority of the story, young Elton is trying to figure out what happened. What was it that he encountered deep in the forest? Was it an alien UFO from outer space? Was it some kind of a top secret US military experiment? Was it a bizarre prank? Was it angels, something out of the Bible, like the wheels of Ezekiel? Or did he have some kind of a strange hallucination, or maybe even a mental breakdown? He just doesn't know. And so he tries to figure out over the course of the rest of the novel what happened to him, and also why this event happened to him and him only, even though there were lots of locals that night who reported seeing strange lights. And while he's trying to process all this, this shy young history teacher is now thrust into the public spotlight as, oh, he's that fellow who had that UFO encounter. And so he's desperately trying to make sure that he doesn't become a figure of ridicule. And he is really shook up, quite shaken from the experience, but he goes on with his life. And while he's trying to figure out what happened to him, he is going about the normal business of teaching. And the book encompasses a lot of high school dynamics as seen from the perspective of a young teacher. Also, the book encompasses a local sheriff's election involving Elton's younger brother. And the book also encompasses romance, and there's a whole lot of humor. I would call the book sort of a dramedy. It is essentially a drama, but with lots and lots of comedy. And it is a light read. It's a lot of fun. It's also a clean read. There is no smoking, there's no drinking, no drugs, no profanity, sex, or violence. I wanted my 88-year-old father and my 87-year-old mother to be able to enjoy it, and for their friends to enjoy it. But it's still a really enjoyable read. And there's also a religious element. Elton is a devout Christian, and he's struggling to try to figure out, well, did God send me some kind of message, or how can I figure out what happened? So the book is certainly not pushing religion, but it also explores some religious questions. And Elton is also coming to terms with the notion that just as what happened to him is a mystery, so much of life is ultimately a mystery. But that's okay. One of the themes of the book, I believe, is that there's a lot of ambiguity or mystery to this life, and that's all right. So the book is a lot of fun. It's also, I think, really thoughtful. It examines a lot of serious questions, but there's a whole lot of humor. And I really think that it's a story that lots of people could relate to. This book does not neatly fit into any one genre. Yes, you could make a case that it is science fiction, but really most of the book is not science fiction. It's also a drama, but yet it's also a comedy. It's a story about high school, a story about small southern towns, a story with a lot of romance. So it really taps into a lot of different genres.
Good book. That's a really good story about this book. Now, you told me that it's half drama, half funny. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I would say it's probably more drama than comedy, but there's a whole heck of a lot of comedy. And the drama is never tragic. It's somewhat light in that regard, and it has a happy ending. So I would say a dramedy is probably the best description of it.
Do you think this book, the reviews on this book and your sales going up on this book?
Yes, sir. I'm thrilled with the fact that the book, in just the first 6 weeks since it was published on July 19th of this year, it has already gotten 16 Amazon reviews, and every one of them has been a 5-star rave. And it's gotten 5 reviews on Barnes & Noble, and all of those are 5-star raves. And hundreds of friends of mine on Facebook have said that they have bought or are ordering the book. And whereas initially the book was being sold on Amazon and Barnes & Noble websites, now it's also being sold on Target's website, as well as the British website, Speedy Hen, and even a Swedish website, Bokus, Bokus. And so I am hopeful that with sales increasing via these websites, that the book will soon also be available in brick and mortar bookstores.
Very exciting. That is very exciting. I never knew.
I'm really overwhelmed. I'm just so touched and just thrilled and very grateful.
So your reviews, like I'm right now while you're talking, I was looking it up, and the Deep in the Forest book, as I was looking it up, there's also a movie between that book.
Well, if there's a movie with the same title, it's not based on my novel. I would love for a movie to be made about my novel. That would be just, that would be incredibly exciting. But there has been no film made of the book as of yet.
You're also on Barnes and Noble.
Yes, sir.
And as looking at your story on Access WDON,
Deep in the Forest.
Access WDON on here, they're also talking about how good your story is.
Oh, thank you.
And I love this story very much. And
well, I really appreciate it.
And would you actually tell me you tell me why you would write books?
Sure. I was blessed to be a professor for 33 and a half years. I taught political science and history at Gordon College in Barnesville, Georgia, about 50 miles south of Atlanta, from 1987 to 1999, and when I got out of graduate school. And then from 1999 through the end of 2020, I taught political science and history, mostly political science, at what was Gainesville State College, and since 2013 has been the Gainesville campus of the University of North Georgia. And I loved teaching, but after doing it for 33 and a half years, I realized, I've taught 20 courses. I've done everything I ever wanted to do in this profession and so much more. And ever since I was a high school student, about your age, and fell in love with American literature, I've always nurtured a dream to be a novelist. And I figured if I'm ever going to fulfill this dream, now is the time. While I'm still 59 and I'm still, God willing, of sound mind. And so I decided it would be a good time to retire and become a full-time writer. And so that's what I did. Now, I actually wrote this novel before I retired. But since I have retired, I've written a second novel, which I'm now editing and shopping around to publishers. But also, since I've retired, I've written a lot more newspaper essays, which I've written for decades, but now I've had time to write a lot more, and I've been blessed to have many published. I've also been blessed to have a lot more poems published than I have gotten published in recent years. So I'm really enjoying now being a full-time writer. And I look forward to writing more novels and essays and poems. And if ever I miss teaching too much, I can always go back and teach part-time. And the beauty of teaching part-time is I don't have to serve on any university committees anymore, and I don't have to deal with all the university paperwork. I can just do the fun stuff, just teach. But it's been a real dream made real to at last be able to write full-time as a novelist and a poet and essayist. And I'm just so blessed and grateful. and absolutely thrilled that the first novel is doing so well.
Do you plan to write any more kind of these like chapter books? Do you plan to?
I do hope to write many more novels. My second novel has a tentative title of Due South, and it's another story set in the present day rural small town American South. It has totally different characters from the Deep in the Forest novel, but it's another dramedy. Probably the second book is actually a lot funnier than the first, and the second book focuses more on romance. The second book is longer, it has more characters, but there's definitely a number of similarities between the two. But I don't have a third novel in mind just yet. I'm still editing the second. I'll tell you, Jackson, as much fun as I've had writing essays and poems, writing novels and short stories is even so much more fun, because when I write an essay, I have to keep it less than 800 words to be newspaper length, and I have to have it well organized. I have to make my case with all these arguments. And when I write a poem, at least the way I write poetry, my poems rhyme, and I like to have the same number of syllables in each poem. Each poem has a certain rhythm. And that's fun, but I've got some boundaries. There's some bumpers I have to stay within. Well, the beauty of writing fiction or prose, a novel or a short story, is other than basic punctuation, there are no rules. I can just go wherever my mind leads. And it's just the most enjoyable creative endeavor of my life to just be typing whatever comes to mind. And so that's exciting. That's a lot of fun.
So, like we're right here now. Let me tell you about myself. All right.
Okay, sure. Please do.
My name is Jackson Harris. I am a radio show host and a podcast show host of the J and Z Show and the Jackson Harris Show. I own my own radio station, my internet radio station, which plays other music. Fridays are Oldies Fridays that start at 6 o'clock on Friday nights, and Saturdays at 7 for all requests Saturday nights. I am a very good video editor. I make all my videos, like all these podcasts I made. Right now I have 3 episodes. This is the third one I am with you on. And I'm experienced with audio and video. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I do play oldies on certain nights of the weeks. I'm also a radio show host for my station, John from the Beat, North Georgia, but it's now been changed over to 97.9 The Beat. It's not a real radio station. It is an internet station. I have my own. We're based in Cleveland, Georgia, because there's not many music stations in Cleveland. There's only about probably one is only a radio, like a news and talk station, which is only a talk station in Cleveland. And WDON, the talk station as well. But the only music station we have in North Georgia is WENG and WCON. And what's it called? I forgot 106.1. I forgot it. So I am really busy. So I do these on the weekends before late. So this is a Labor Day special I have with you.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me as your guest.
And we'll be back after these messages. Thank you.